So Marvel Rivals just recently announced that they're changing how many people can queue in a party for different parts of ranked. And a lot of people are not happy with this. Let's talk about it. YouTube, what's going on, man? It's Father Dark. I'm here on a beautiful Monday morning. I believe today's Monday. I actually don't know. Let me know in the comments what today is. I don't feel like looking to check and see. But I believe it's Monday morning. Nonetheless, though, Discord, Twitter, everywhere is just, they're in shambles right now. They're going back and forth. We already are getting the implementation of the AI that's been listening to people. I know they said that real people would be reviewing it, but I had made a video on that before, talking about that before it was implemented, or it might have already just been implemented whenever they did their last little update before the mid-season update. And we already have reports from a lot of different people that they're getting warnings or they're being banned for just talking to like friends and stuff like that. And, you know, a lot of people, they make, you know, either dirty jokes or they call each other by certain names and stuff like that jokingly. And, you know, the system can't differentiate all that. That's the only issue with AI. So there's a lot of people that are, you know, up in arms about that, and they're really tight about that. And this is something that I've seen happen before, whether it was in Overwatch or Call of Duty did the same thing a few years back. And the game does get to a point to where people, they just say, you know what, let me just go into a party chat, or, you know, on their console, or let me go in a Discord chat, or whatever the case is, to kind of escape that. And I think right now it's a little too tuned, you know, in the higher, you know, regard for picking up on pretty much just anything. So that might need a little bit of tweaking, but that's not what today's video is about. Today's video is about the changes recently. It's actually a two-part video. First, we're going to talk about the changes that they've made to the rank system in regard to matchmaking and how many people that you're allowed to queue with at a time. And then we're going to move into some stuff with EOMM, because there's a lot of people that still talk about matchmaking. They still bring up EOMM. That's something that a lot of times when you're talking about queuing up with people and stuff, that it kind of it bleeds over into that area of the EOMM. And I think it's all really, really interesting. I've covered it a bunch before and stuff like that, but as time has went on, my understanding of EOMM and matchmaking and stuff has changed completely from how I perceived it when I first started playing the game, kind of like the middle area of when I was playing the game up until current day and stuff like that. So I think it's all important. So the first thing, I'm going to read what they said that they were going to be doing. This is the team matchmaking adjustments. It says players in bronze, silver, and gold can queue for competitive in any team size except 5-player teams. Then it says players in platinum, diamond, and grandmaster can queue in competitive teams up to 3 players. Players in celestial, eternity, and one above all can queue for competitive in teams up to 2 players. Now, I don't understand. For me, the way that I'm interpreting that is that for the lower ranks, you're able to, and I don't mean that in an offensive way, I just mean like, you know, bronze, silver, and gold. To my understanding, that means that you can only have 5 people in a team at a time. Some people are perceiving that to say that you can only queue up with 5 people, with yourself being included or not included. So that would be 6 people altogether, and then etc. So like if it says for, you know, platinum, diamond, and grandmaster, it says you can queue up to 3 players. Some people might, you know, perceive that as 4 when they are including themselves, etc. Right? But for me, it just means flat out that you're only able to at most have 5 people in a party for, you know, silver, you know, bronze, gold, all that, etc. You know, and then going forward with the same, you know, mindset. So let me know in the comments what you all think about that, how you're interpreting that, because I see that clearly some people will interpret it one way, some people are interpreting it another way, but that's besides the point. The point is that this morning in our Discord, before I even decided to, you know, or actually, you know, I had already decided last night, you know, a lot of times I'll come up with the idea for a video the night before, and then I start making the thumbnail or getting an idea for it. And then, you know, the next morning I'll, you know, actually go and, you know, take the gameplay and record it, which I have to apologize to. The gameplay for like the last like week or so, I have not been remembering to start recording when I'm actually playing. So that's why I'm having to go back through and just, you know, record, you know, gameplay clips from the actual history gameplay. So I apologize about that. I'll be more mindful of that in the future. But the point I was making is that once I'd already decided to make this video, this morning I go into our Discord and people were already going back and forth and debating and arguing over the recent changes and stuff like that. And you have some people that they understand it and they agree with it, but then there are a lot more people, I feel like, just from kind of looking at the Twitter, you know, debates that are going on and stuff like that, and even in my own Discord server, people that are going back and forth about it. It seems like I'd say there's like a 70%, you know, kind of like amount of people that feel as if this is a negative change. Now, the thing that I find interesting about this is that when you think about it at its core, this is a team-based game. So it makes sense that people will naturally kind of want to play as a team. It makes sense. If you think about it from a, a neutral kind of standpoint, or you try not to be biased about it, you think about like a basketball team or a football team, I feel like is a better example. Now, I'm not a sports guy, so, I apologize if I, get some of this stuff wrong, but I kind of understand the basic, concept of how these things are done, right? So it's like you have a quarterback, you have a receiver, and then you have like either, whether it's like the defensive line, offensive line, whatever you call it, the people that stop the people from basically tackling the quarterback and stopping him from being able to do his job, right? And then you have the people that run after the receiver, I'm assuming, and they try to kind of block him from being able to catch the ball, right? Receivers are receivers, right? Like they're not like sometimes receivers, and then there's sometimes like on the offensive or defensive line, and then they're sometimes quarterbacks, right? It's usually like people, from my understanding, if you're a quarterback, you're a receiver, et cetera, right? People have their strengths and their weaknesses. And that's just like in this game, I feel like you have some people that are better at support, some people that are better at being a tank, some people that are better at DPS. Now you have players like myself that are flex players, but at the same time, I do understand that if you are a flex player, you're never really going to be able to be as good as if you just only played a role all the time. Like I feel like if you took the same people that have the same potential to be at the same level, right? Because it's different with different people. But obviously, let's say you took two people and you said, here, one guy's going to play Spider-Man all the time, one guy's going to play Spider-Man sometimes, but he's going to play these other two roles in an equal amount, right? That guy that has only played Spider-Man, of course, he's going to have more time and his reflexes will be just nothing. His mind will work literally nothing but like, I'm going to be Spider-Man, right? So to me, that's kind of the same exact thing. But at the same time, though, the problem that I find with people that stack a lot, right? Because with me being a content creator, anytime that I've ever tried to do something, if I ever had even any, like the slightest amount of help, there was someone else on my team, the first thing that people would say in the comment sections was, oh, well, you had help. You got boosted, whatever, right? Like there's always something that they say as to why basically whatever it was that I did, there were other factors that got put in there that didn't give the real result. And if I don't play by myself 24/7, people will just diminish literally anything it is that I do. I had made a video a couple months back where people had begged me to play on console. I really didn't want to. I can't stand playing on my console. It's pretty much just a paperweight that sits on my desk for when there's times where there's only games that can be only played on a console. Like, for example, when GTA 6 comes out, they're not putting it on PC for the first year. So I'll be forced to have to use my console at that point. Nonetheless, people begged me and said, hey, please do a video showing if console ranked is the same, harder, or is easier, whatever the case is, right? So I did that, and in like 3 days, I was able to surpass my rank on PC, like my all-time like highest rank, and I did it in like 3 days, right? And the first thing people said in the comments, the very first thing that like a quarter of the people said was, oh, there's no way that you did that by yourself. You more than likely played with some of your friends or your subscribers or people in your Discord, whatever the case is. Now, I actually streamed the first 2 days that I played. That third day I just played, it was like early in the morning on a Sunday or something. But nonetheless, you can look back. The account is open. It's not closed off or anything. You can just type in the name and you can see for yourself that every game was with random people. I did not play with anyone that I knew at any point in time. I had people really ask me. They're like, man, I've been wanting to play with you on console for a long time. I'd love to play. And I had to tell them, I was like, no, cannot play with you because if I do, then people will say, oh, you got help, you got carry boosted, whatever. So like I said, that when I don't even get help from people, people still assume, well, he must have got some type of help, right? So there's no time when I can do that whatsoever. And personally, too, I feel like that until I get up to a certain rank, like let's say I get up to like GM or something like that. Well, at that point, yeah, I might start queuing with a person or two because that's just kind of like the nature of what it is once you get up to higher ranks. But I've always kind of been that way. Even when this was a Call of Duty channel, until I got up to Crimson, which would be like the equivalent of Grandmaster in this game, I didn't queue with anyone. I only queued by myself because I just felt like I shouldn't have to queue. That's like me going to the park and like going to play basketball against a bunch of like kids or something like that, and me being like, yo, I gotta call my homeboys that are like grown men that all are really good at the game to play. It's like, no, I should be able to like take a bunch of kids on in a basketball game by myself without needing any assistance. And that's kind of how I look at ranked in the sense of like when I'm in like what I consider to be ranks that are lower than my actual like skill ceiling, that's where I'm like, okay, I can do this by myself. But then once you get up to the ones where everyone is equally just as good as you, and then you start factoring in matchmaking, manipulation and stuff like that, that's when you say, okay, let me try to balance it out and even the odds out a little bit and have other people to play with. Now, this is just me. Now, I understand that everyone else, you're just playing this game. You're playing it to have fun. You're playing it because you want to rank up, whatever the case is. You're not content creators. When you play, there are not hundreds of thousands of people that watch you throughout the year that are judging you and leaving comments and nitpicking and going through every little aspect of everything that you do. I understand that. The problem that I have with people queuing with other people is, unfortunately, I do feel like a lot of times some people get boosted because there's going to be people a lot of times that are better on the team and they will carry you further naturally than you would get if you were playing by yourself. Now, this is where I'm going to get in a moment to the EOMM aspect, because that kind of brings a lot of other factors in. But before I do, I just kind of want to like expound a little bit on that, right? So, for example, let's say you're a support player and you play with someone who's really good at taking out Spider-Man. You are never learning how to deal with one of your weaknesses because you always have someone else to depend on. And a really good like analogy that I'll give you is kind of like when you're married. Me and my wife, we're a team. That's how I look at it, right? Come and go as you please. You do whatever it is that you want. But at the same time, the reason why this relationship works is because we understand and can identify each other's strengths and weaknesses. Love my wife to death, but she is not the person that likes to clean. I grew up in an extremely clean home that I joke like when I was a kid, I'd be able to drop something on the floor and pick it up and not have to worry about anything being on it whatsoever. Like the floor was so clean, you could literally eat off of it. My mother was extremely OCD. My father was a Marine when he was younger. So they both had this mindset of like the house was constantly spick and span. It looked like those Mr. Clean commercials where the surfaces are literally shining and stuff like that. And me, because I was raised that way, I can't live in a house that's not clean. My office is constantly clean. If one thing's out of place, before I can even sit down and make these videos, I have to make sure everything is clean and straightened up. Okay. She is the complete antithesis of that. If the house, like she could just clean up like once, maybe twice every 2 weeks or something like that, and just lightly and be okay with that. I'm the kind of person where I'm like, the dog is shedding. I see hair on the floorboards, or I see this over in that corner, or blah blah blah. Well, the kids put this here. Oh, the cat got some kitty litter over here in this little area, whatever. You know what I'm saying? I have like everything has to be cleaned up. The counters always have to be washed off. Everything, right? And there's a lot of other stuff that she takes care of. Like, for example, she likes to take the kids to doctor's appointments and stuff. That's her thing. She keeps all the records. She knows all the stuff from like 5 years ago that happened this one random time and yada, yada, yada. Now, it's not saying that if I get really busy that she can't do the things that I would normally do around the house. And it's not saying that if she gets really busy or she has to, work a weird time or something that she would normally have to work, that I can't take the kids to a doctor's appointment. And that's kind of the thing. Now, imagine if I didn't know how to do any of this stuff. And then there was a situation where I had to take them to the doctors and I couldn't explain anything. I didn't know where any of the records were. I didn't know any kind of stuff. A really good example is like I rely on her for a lot of things when it comes to medical stuff, like with our kids, because she's a nurse. That's her job. That's really what she knows inside and out better than anything else. But at the same time, I don't just rely on her because what if she's not here and something was to happen? I need to at least know CPR or what to do in life-threatening situations. That's like the equivalent of having like a first aid kit or something, right? And it's kind of the same thing in the game. Yes, it is nice if you have someone that will peel for you as a support player and help you whenever you're dealing with these things. But what do you do when there is no one to help? What do you do when you've gotten carried up to a certain rank and now you're oh, I'm confident, I'm just going to go solo queue, and now you got people looking at you going, man, how'd you make it to this rank not knowing how to do this or not knowing how to do that? And that's just my personal kind of like perception when it comes to a lot of stuff. I'm the kind of person where I'd rather go on the hyperbolic time chamber or run with a bag full of bricks on. So that way, when it comes to actual race day and I'm actually competing now I can take that book bag of bricks off and I'm going to be feeling like I'm, just made of air or whatever. I'm going to be just zooming, And like I said, that's not for everybody. I have a whole entire server that I created for people to find other people to play with. So there is no judgment. It's not like I'm putting anyone down and saying that you shouldn't play with people or that you can't or that makes you less of a person or anything else. What I do and what other people do are two completely different things. If your house isn't clean, I don't care because I don't have to live in it. I don't have to be there. My house is going to be clean though. Do you think I clean my house for you? No, I clean my house because I want my house to be clean. It's the same exact thing in this game. I learn things that I feel like are my weak points. I go back and I watch replays. I have to watch my gameplay all the time, every day. Every day I make a video, upload gameplay. I have to watch it all the time. And every now and again I see stuff and I go, oh man, why did I do that? Or that was dumb. I shouldn't have done that. Or if I would have just been here, that would have been a better positioning. They wouldn't have been able to catch me like that. A lot of people don't do that. A lot of people just say, well, my team sucks. And it's really hard for them to take accountability and to say, well, why did I do this? I'm watching my wife. My wife is really interesting because I'm watching her play from the beginning. I'm seeing someone who has no idea what they're doing going into a game that people have been playing for a while now. There are very few other people that are just starting out as fresh as her at this period of time and this late into the game's life, right? Which is not that late, but we are multiple seasons in. So there's very few people that are just coming in for the first time, and there's little things that I see that she'll be doing. Like, for example, she might be playing a support and, I'll see how she knows there's a flyer on her team, like an Iron Man or a Storm or something. And she doesn't stay back far enough to be able to heal him as well. She'll push up and try to get like right behind the tank. And I'll have to explain to her, because she's like, well, this Iron Man isn't doing anything. And I'm like, well, no offense, babe, but you're kind of not healing him. Like if you just stayed like 10 feet further back, you'd be able to see the tanks, the DPS, and obviously the flyer's DPS. But you get what I'm saying. You'd be able to see this flyer as well. You'd have a bigger view of the battlefield. Right. And sometimes it's hard for us in our heads. We feel like we're doing everything that we can, but there's actually stuff that we could be improving on, but we're just not able to be honest with ourselves. And I forget what that's called, but the way I look at it is kind of like, you ever heard somebody and they'll sit back and they'll say, oh man, that person, that singer or that rapper or whatever, oh, they're terrible. I could do that better than them. And then you hear them rap or sing or something and you're like, oh my God, this person might actually be tone deaf, like, you know what I'm saying? But in their head, because they're the ones that's doing it, and we're our own biggest like supporters a lot of times because we have to be. Who else is going to, do that for you? We're a lot of times like kind of blind to our own mistakes and the things that we're doing wrong. And it's a lot easier to be like that when you're in a group of people and everybody kind of has that predetermined role. And the only time that I feel that way is like with video games, because if I think about it with anything else, like a sports team, I wouldn't like if they just randomly mixed up every team every single time. I wouldn't like that. You know what I'm saying? I think that was weird, but I do think that there are exceptions to things. Like I don't think that actual physical sports should be handled the same way that a game that you just kind of sit down and play at a computer should be handled every single time. But then there are certain aspects that I do feel like kind of correlate, and that's the beauty of life is that not everything is always going to be perfect. Now, I've talked about this for 16 minutes. It's kind of hard to say everything that I want to say and do it in a short enough period of time. But I do want to move on to EOMM because this is interesting to me. This is a topic that, like I said, my mindset has changed on it a lot. Now, when I first started playing this game, I felt like because it was a team-based game that my teammates should always kind of be on the same level as me when I'm playing a ranked game. What I'm starting to notice is that as time has went on, my thoughts on EOMM has changed. Do I think that it exists? Yes, it does exist. But how I view it and basically how much it's capable of holding you back has changed. Now, one thing that I want to say before I really get into it is that whatever it is with the matchmaking and stuff, when you're about to have your rank up game, they are going to sell you as hard as possible. They're going to give you the levers, the throwers, the people that are trolls that just load in, the Jeffs that want to eat you off the point because they think it's funny or whatever the case is, people that all for some reason want to insta-lock, Psylock or whatever the case is. Just anything that could possibly go wrong on your rank up game is going to go wrong. And you're going to go up against a team of people that are fully ready to do this, locked in, know exactly what they're doing, and more than likely playing together. There's just something about the rank up game. It is not a myth. It's not some type of legend. It's a thing. Like I'm gotten to the point where if I'm about to rank up, like fully rank up, I just turn the game off and don't play for 24 hours to just let the game know, like the algorithm, like, hey, you're not about to sell me, bro. It's just not going to happen. I've seen it happen too many times. I'm not a gambling man, and I would gamble my life savings and a limb that on my rank up game, they are going to do everything humanly possible to make it as almost impossible for me to rank up as possible. So like, that's just where I'm at with that. But going back to EOMM. So let's take some examples, right? So when I first started playing this game, bronze was hard for me because I did not know how to play this game at all. Didn't understand it, had never really played hero shooters. So this was completely new to me. My understanding of what should be happening in bronze was completely different. Then when I get up to silver, my expectations of that were completely different. Gold, platinum, diamond, etc. Right? You get up to these different ranks, and every time it's something new that you have to learn. I'm watching my wife right now fight tooth and nail to get out of bronze, but there's also a lot of stuff that she doesn't understand. So to me, it makes sense that she should be in bronze. But for her, it's like, well, I should at least be in silver right now, not realizing that you got a road to go of things to learn before you're going to be ready to get to that point. And that's the thing with matchmaking is that EOMM is real, but it can only hold you back so much. if you are not a bronze, you're not a silver, and you're not a gold player, you will only stay in those ranks for so long before you surpass them. Now, you might actually be a diamond player, but once you get up to platinum, that's when you're really going to feel the EOMM, because you are going to have to start to carry a little bit. You're going to get teammates that are just having off days. They're tired. Maybe they're sipping on a little bit of something, whatever. They had a long day at school. Maybe the wife and the kids are all ganging up on them, and they're in their feelings about something, whatever, right? People have lives. They're real people. They don't always just walk in to play a game and they're perfectly at 100% and ready to go, right? So once you reach that point, which is like your ceiling, right? It's where basically you're not breezing past anymore. You're getting to that point where you're actually having to give every single match everything that you have, and you're having to pull out all the tricks and all the stops and stuff to advance. That is when you're going to feel EOMM at its most. But prior to that, before you've gotten to whatever your ceiling is, you should be somewhat breezing past. Does it get a little bit harder each time? Bronze. You get put in bronze for some reason. Like, let's say you didn't play for a couple of seasons. You come back, you're completely reset. You're going to breeze through that. You can carry with whatever role you want. People say, oh, you can only carry DPS. No, that's not true. You can play Cloak and Dagger every single game. You can play Rocket Raccoon every single game, and you'll still be able to carry. Because to you, your skill level is going to be so much higher than the people that you're playing against, unless it's just obviously like a team of Smurfs on the other end or something like that. Those are exceptions. But for the most part, most of the people that you're going to be playing against are going to seem so lower level to you that you'll just breeze past it. Same thing with silver. Same thing with gold, like I said. Then once you start getting up in a rank to where it's closer to what your actual rank is, that's where you're going to have to fight tooth and nail. And the thing is, too, is that there are so many people that they want to be boosted. I see people say that all the time. They'll say, hey, man, let me play with you and carry me to this rank or whatever the case is. Think about the videos that I've made in the past. It's one of the reasons that I stopped using the previous sponsor that I had, because they were selling, boosted accounts, or they were selling a service to be able to boost people's accounts and stuff like that. And that's just not something that I personally agree with. Once again, just because I don't personally agree with something doesn't mean you can't do it. It just means I'm not going to do it, and I'm not going to sit here and advocate for it. But at the same time, like I said, it's not a secret. There's a lot of people that do that. I hear people say all the time, they'll say, oh, well, I played with my girlfriend and I boosted her, to this rank or whatever because she asked me really nice. Well, you know what's going to happen now? When you're not around, she's going to load into a match and she's going to go play that match. And, and it could be the other way around. You might be, maybe it's the girl in the relationship and she's the one that's the more proficient gamer and her boyfriend wants to be carried, husband, whatever. It could work either way. The point that I'm making is that when that person that got boosted or carried goes to load into a rank match, they're essentially selling their team because they are not actually worthy of being on that level. And I get it. You want to do nice things for people. You want to bring people up to that level with you. But there's a difference between you training someone and making sure they're actually capable of carrying on their own and holding their own, at least. Like, it's not even so much carrying, but like holding their own. Because at the end of the day, a team is only as strong as its weakest link. You could put 5 people that are goated with one bad person on the team against 6 other people that are actually goated. And that team of the 6 goated people is going to absolutely demolish the other team. It's just like if you're pulling a chain. The chain can have perfect links. All the links except for one can be perfect. They can be the strongest thing made out of vibranium, adamantium, whatever. And then one link is busted and rusted out. You go to pull on that chain, it's going to immediately break. That's how that works. And that's why I always try to make sure that I am the best player that I can be at that time. We all have room to grow. I learn from people every single day. A lot of you in the comment section, you leave great tips and little tricks and stuff all the time. The people in my server, there are so many people in there that are amazing players. And sometimes I just sit down and just pick their brains and talk to them. Some amazing people in there. And it doesn't even have to be those players. Sometimes there's people who are like, they'll say they're hard stuck in bronze or silver. And then they say, hey, Punisher, that little bar that he has, that means that like once you fill that up, it's like a one-shot headshot. I'm like, bro, I never knew that. Had no idea. You can learn from anybody at any given time, no matter how good you are, or in between, or a lower ranked player, whatever. Doesn't matter. But you have to be open to that. And the thing is, too, is like I said, so many people are always saying, well, matchmaking will solve everything. Placement matches will solve everything. I will say this once again, I've said it a million times, but sometimes you just have to keep repeating it because you never know who's new, who hasn't heard it before, who maybe heard it, but maybe they were doing something else and they were busy, whatever. Skill-based matchmaking is not perfect. It is not perfect. EOMM is not perfect. We are going to have to find some middle ground. A lot of people say, well, give me skill-based matchmaking in ranked. I've said it before, I'll say it again. The problem with that is that you are going to get different skilled ranked lobbies. You are going to have people that are saying they are platinum and diamond and GM and all this stuff who you know would never regularly make it out of silver. Why? Because they're only playing with lower skilled players in their rank lobbies. This exact thing happened in Call of Duty. They did that. They implemented skill-based matchmaking into ranked. And there were people who did not even have a positive KD who were ranking up in a game that is solely dependent upon how many eliminations you get. There is no real objective in Warzone. Pretty much just surviving. That's it. There is no point you got to get to. There's no car you got to push. There's no nothing. It's just based off of eliminations. That's what gets you more points and your survival time. That's it. So, like, when you have skill-based matchmaking in ranked, it does not work. And then if you have skill-based matchmaking in quick play, you know what the problem with that is? Is that every one of your quick play matches will feel as intense as a ranked match. There will be no relaxing and no chill. That was the problem. There has to be a balance. It's the same thing in this game. EOMM is not fun because it feels like a slot machine. Yeah, you'll be fine for a while. Oh, is it about to be your rank up game? Oh, man, you might as well go play blackjack now because that's pretty much what you're doing. And the house always wins. We know how that works, right? There is no perfect solution currently. Someone has to actually take the time to make something that is a mix in between EOMM and skill-based matchmaking. There has to be something, some middle ground. That's how things are in life. Usually if you lean too far left or too far right, it never really is what you want. You always kind of want that balance to thing. We need water to live. But you know what happens if you drink too much water? Look it up. There's a such thing as water poisoning. But if you drink too little, you know what happens? You're now dehydrated. Organs start shutting down. Air, you need it to live. What do you think happens if you get too much air too quickly? What do you think happens if you don't get enough air over a period of time? I don't care what we're talking about. There has to be a balance, always, at all times. But, to wrap this up, because we're coming up on the 30-minute mark, and a lot of people, they're like, why do you make these so long? Brother, do you know how hard it is to sit here and cover? I could talk for another 2 hours about all this stuff and break this stuff down, and I still would be just barely scratching the surface. That's why, for those of you that asked that silly-ass question, why didn't you just make this? You have TikTok brain, okay? You want everything to be summarized in 30 seconds. Sir, that is not possible, okay? It's just not possible. And even with me talking for 30 minutes, there are still going to be people in the comment section that go, well, what about this? You didn't cover this. Of course I didn't cover this. It'd be a 16-hour-long video if I covered every possible thing that everybody wanted to talk about. It's not saying that you can't say that, but just don't come at me like, well, why didn't you talk about this? Because I don't have time to. That's why. People don't have the attention spans for me to talk about all the stuff that I want to talk about. That's why. But at the end of the day, though, this matchmaking issue, it's not ever going to be a perfect issue. Just like when I was talking about it earlier, I got off topic a little bit, or I think I started talking about, SBM and stuff like that and everything else and comparing it. But, a lot of people keep saying that they're doing everything except giving us placement matches. Are we really so naive that we think the people that are purposely smurfing, because there's a big difference between you being knocked down a few ranks, like there's people who don't play for a season or two and they end up getting knocked down from a higher rank down to like bronze or silver or something, right? Those people are not smurfs. Those are people who just got rank reset, okay? They're not going to stay in those ranks for long because they don't want to stay in those ranks. That's the difference between someone who just gets rank reset and a smurf. A smurf wants to intentionally stay in a rank. They want to stay in bronze and silver and gold if that's still a low rank for them. That's what they want. They want that so that they can beat up on lesser skilled players and say, oh, look what I did. I just dropped 40, 50 eliminations in rank, guys. Look what I did. That's a smurf. Smurfs are going to figure out how to game the system. A placement match is just you playing a handful of matches in the game, determining what your skill is based off of that. If you are a lower rank, or if you have a poor performance, it's going to put you in a lower rank. So you know how easy it would be to beat rank or placement matches? It would be so simple. All you have to do is just play poorly. Just sell the matches. And the game's going to go, oh, you're terrible. I'll put you in with these people. And something that I do find interesting as well, I used to think that maybe your level had something to do with what type of skill players you were getting, right? But this is not true. I made a alt account for one video because that was after I did the console ranked run. People said, well, now try it on an alt account and see if that's different. People just keep throwing stuff out there and saying, well, we'll try this, we'll try that, right? So I made an alt account and I played the same way that I would normally play. You know what happened? I got put up against a bunch of other people that were genuinely smurfing. Whole entire stacked teams. These people had matching names and everything. When you look at their records, they had been playing together the whole entire day, right? No changes. And when I look at my wife, when she plays, she's genuinely a new player. She genuinely plays like a new player. Do you honestly think the algorithm doesn't detect that? I know it does for a fact, because the people that she's playing with, they have just started playing the game. Either that or they have been playing since day one and they have made zero progress. I said this in my last video. I saw with my own eyes. I watched the replay. She won a match where the only support on her team was an Ultron, and they steamrolled the other team. I saw it with my own eyes, okay? And what reality would that ever happen? Have you ever lost to a team where the only support was an Ultron? If you did, would you even admit that? Let's just be real. These companies are not stupid. The matchmaking is one of the biggest parts of the game. It is going to dictate if the larger majority of people that play your game continue to play it. This is a business at the end of the day. These are AAA studios. They invest millions and millions and millions of dollars into these games. Most of you listening will never even know what $1 million looks like throughout your whole entire lifetime. Not saying all of you, but for the most part, just $1 million, just 1 million. So imagine when there's hundreds of millions of dollars on the line. You got companies as big as Disney invested in this stuff. Outside investors that don't care about nothing about a video game. They only care about if their money is returned to them tenfold. This big people talk. We've stepped away from the kids' table now. We're at the adult table now, having adult conversations. Okay? They're not playing. You think that they're not using every single thing that they possibly can to their advantage? Do you think people make casinos so they can lose? Yeah, they'll let you win a little bit of money, but at the end of the day, you're going to always lose more than you win. That's how the casino wins. That's why we have the expression, the house always wins. Casino wouldn't be around very long if they were constantly losing more money than they were gaining, would they? Tell that to a gambler, though. Right? Oh, well, I just went and hit big on the craps table, man. Okay. Try that 5 more times. Let me know how that works out for you. Right? That's matchmaking in a sense for you. There are whole entire teams of people that do nothing but understand the numbers and the data and start to understand you better than you understand yourself. They have a profile on every single one of us. Not that there's a real person sitting here looking at it or paying any attention to it. They just make sure the system's running every now and again. The algorithm, the AI, that's the only purpose it serves is to take data in and put it back out in a way that will benefit the company. That's what they do. If they know that you're more than likely going to stop playing after you get to a certain rank, they will do everything in their power to stop you from getting to that rank. Because how does it benefit them when you're not playing their game? If they keep feeding you some wins here, taking some away, you're more than likely going to keep coming back because it's an addiction. Oh, well, I know if I could just play this next game and what are the chances that I'm going to get a bad team? I've been doing so good today. Maybe I'm on a hot streak. No, you're not really on a hot streak. It's false because it's a team-based game. To think that you're doing it all by yourself, unless you're like in really low ranks or something, that's as naive as you could possibly get. You're getting teammates that balance out what it is that you can do and what you know. If you're a tank, the game's giving you another tank, 2 DPS, 2 good solid supports. People that don't rage quit, people that don't argue with their teammates, and it's proven from their record. But then when you're about to rank up, though, you know what they do? Say, yo, take a little Timmy, Jonathan over here, Susie, Joe, and Becky. They love rage quitting. They like to play Jeff and eat their teammates off the point and spit them out off cliffs in overtime. You know? Take these people that have never played support in their life. They only insta-lock DPS. And then spend the whole game raging on their support players for not healing them enough when they've never touched that role in their whole entire life. I've said it before. Oh, the enemy team, they like to play flyers and they're really good at it. They got supports that'll pocket them. Yo, let's put a whole entire team of people that have never once looked up in the sky in their whole entire life against these people. Let's do that. See how that works out. What do you think is going to happen? You don't need to be a rocket scientist, bro. You don't need to work at NASA to be able to put 2 and 2 together and go, look, this probably ain't going to work out that well. Right? I mean, what are we talking about here? So, like I said, we're 35 minutes. I'm going to wrap it up because this is usually the point where people start raging at me and like, why was this video so long? Brother, because I had things to say, okay? It's my channel. You want to hear shorter content? Why don't you make a channel where you can summarize everything in 3 minutes for the zero attention span people, you know, and you can take over that market. All right, this ain't the one. This is a channel where I talk about things and I talk until I'm done talking. How about that? That sound good to you? If it doesn't, the door is over there somewhere, whatever direction the door is in for you. Look in that direction, head that way. All right. So, but let me know in the comments what you all think. Do you think that these new changes are a bad thing? Do you think that it's good? Do you think it's going to help stop people that are being boosted? Do you think it's going to, just whatever it is that you think? Do you think it's a bad thing? Do you dislike it? I know there's a lot of people that dislike it, but try to articulate and tell me why exactly you dislike it. Because like I said, my thoughts are my thoughts. This is not an echo chamber. I'm not a perfect person. I'm just one person. There has been so many times where I thought something was just cut and dry and it was, oh yeah, this just makes sense. Why wouldn't it? And then somebody says a couple of things and I go, never thought about it like that before. Completely changes my perspective on it. Does that happen every time? No. But I still love to hear what people have to say about it. So make sure you go in that comment section and you tell me, how do you feel? And what do you think? Also, what do you think about EOMM? Has your mindset changed on it? Were you someone who didn't believe in it and now it's something that to you is just common knowledge? Did you believe in it and now you've gotten so good that you're like, EOMM ain't got nothing on me? Are you somewhere in the middle? What do you think? What are your thoughts? Let me know. All right. But like I said, I'm going to wrap it up, though, because my kids sound like they're like doing construction or something in their room. So I'm going to check that out and see what that's about. But I do appreciate you all that have made it this far into the video. I appreciate you all preemptively for commenting and giving your thoughts and opinions. And another thing, too, that I just want to add is as well, make sure if you made it this far, I love to do it for the people that have actually made it this far versus the people that like to listen for 8 or 10 minutes and then think they've somehow formulated their whole opinion about everything in the whole entire video. But yeah, if you made it this far, make sure to join the Discord. If you're having a hard time, click on the look at my actual main channel page where it shows all the videos and stuff. If you see my logo at the top left, look over on the right where it says more info. You click that and you'll see the link to the Discord. The reason why I'm saying that is because I have to say, just preface, it has nothing to do with YouTube. This is just something I do for people in my Discord. I'll be doing a giveaway for season 3.5, the mid-season update. I'll be doing a giveaway, a bundle to someone. I usually like pick a random number or something like that, and whoever gets closest or guesses it or whatever ends up getting it. But yeah, I like to do that at the beginning of the season, in the middle of the season, and I'll let you get whatever skin it is that you want in the game. I can just gift it to you like I usually do for people in the Discord. And also, too, we're edging up on 1,000 members in the Discord. I think we're at like 980 or something like that. So I'll do another giveaway the moment that we reach that, and it'll be the same exact thing, which should be any day now. So go ahead and jump in on that now. You'll still be able to do it ahead of time. I'll probably start doing that on like Wednesday evening or something like that. So that way I'll be able to pick the winner on the actual day of the update. And we'll be able to, go forward with that. So, but like I said, I do appreciate you all for listening. I'm gonna wrap this video up, but this is Father Dark, and I'll catch you on the next one.